Most people spend their lives trapped inside the same financial loop for years without ever questioning it. Wake up, go to work, get paid, pay bills, repeat, month after month, year after year. They call this stability. But what Machiavelli understood, long before modern finance ever existed, was that systems, not effort, quietly determine outcomes. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, he wrote, because everyone sees what's on the surface, but very few sense the structure underneath. Your financial life works the same way. You see a paycheck. What actually controls you is the system behind it. Here's what most people never notice. There is a narrow window, a specific time frame, where systems can be rewritten without brute force or chaos. 90 days, not because it's mystical, because it's long enough to force reality to respond, and short enough that excuses don't have time to reorganize. This isn't about getting rich quickly. It's about regaining control over how money moves through your life. Control beats luck. Every time, in the next few minutes, I'll walk you through a 3-phase framework built on this exact principle. Not theory, not motivation, a system I've watched people use to eliminate checking account anxiety, build emergency funds from nothing, unlock real cash flow, and in some cases, walk away from jobs they once felt imprisoned by. One founder I worked with didn't increase his income at all. During the first 90 days, he simply redirected it. By the end, he had 6 months of runway and negotiating power for the first time in his life. Power changes behavior. Behavior changes outcomes. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people never make it past week 2. Not because the system fails, but because they do. Stay with me. Because once you understand why, you'll stop blaming yourself and start designing correctly. Before we talk about money, we need to talk about time. 90 days matters because the brain isn't built for instant identity shifts. Research shows durable behavioral change takes roughly 66 to 90 days, not 21. That's marketing, and not 6 months either. That's procrastination disguised as patience. Machiavelli warned against this exact self-deception when he said, "Men put off the evil until it is too late to remedy. Waiting feels responsible. Most of the time, it's avoidance." 90 days is the Goldilocks zone, long enough for results to become undeniable. Your spending patterns can shift, your debt can shrink, and your mindset around money can finally change. It hardens into discipline, yet stays short enough that momentum becomes addictive. You stop hoping for progress, you start feeling it, and that feeling is what actually keeps people moving forward. This is also where most people sabotage themselves. They try to change everything at once. New budget, new habits, new savings goals, new investment strategy, all stacked on top of a life that already feels overwhelming. By day 18, decision fatigue sets in, the brain rebels, and they slide straight back into the old loop, convinced the problem is willpower. It isn't. Machiavelli would call this a failure of design. "He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done," he wrote, "learns his ruin rather than his preservation." Willpower is fragile, but BR systems are not. The 90-day money system bar isn't about fighting yourself. It's about structuring your environment bar so the correct action becomes the default. That's why this system is divided bar into 3 distinct 30-day phases. BR. Each phase has one primary objective. BR. Not 10.BR1. Each phase builds on the last. BR like a campaign, not a wish. You don't need motivation. BR, you need sequencing. If you study elite performers, BR financial or otherwise, BR this pattern repeats. When Ray Dalio rebuilt Bridgewater after near collapse, he didn't overhaul everything overnight. He imposed radical clarity first, BR awareness. When ancient Roman generals restructured failing legions, they didn't begin with battle. They started with accounting. BR rations, supply lines. BR discipline. BR money is no different. Chaos must first become visible before it becomes controllable. Phase 1 doesn't look impressive. Most people underestimate it. Bar. That's why they fail it. It feels too simple. Bar, almost boring, which is exactly why it works. BRs. Everything that follows BR depends on this foundation being solid. Before we enter the first phase, BR, let me be clear. Bar, if you're broke, BR, stressed, BR, or anxious about money, it isn't because you're stupid, lazy, or unlucky. It's because you're operating inside a system, BR, you never consciously chose. And Machiavelli's core lesson was always this: BR power begins the moment you stop inheriting structures, BR, and start designing them. In the next phase, you'll see exactly where your power has been leaking, BR, without you ever noticing. And once you see it, BR, you won't be able to unsee it. Before we move on, BR, take a second and comment system, BR, if you believe money problems are structural, not personal, and if this way of thinking resonates, or subscribe and join a growing community of men, BR, who are done blaming themselves, BR, and are learning to design leverage, discipline, BR, and long-term control. Now we enter phase 1. Phase 1, awareness. Days 130 BR, days 1 through 30 BR are the awareness phase. This is where most people grow impatient. BR underestimate its importance, BR, and quietly sabotage the entire system, BR, without realizing it. Your job in this phase is deliberately simple, almost insultingly simple. BR, track every single dollar, BR, that leaves your account, BR. That's it, DR, no cutting, BR, no optimizing, no judging, BR, just observation. This feels anticlimactic, BR, to people who crave action. But Machiavelli warned that impatience, BR, often disguises itself as ambition. Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality, he wrote. Nowhere is that more true than with money. Most people believe they know where their money goes, but BR, they don't. And belief without evidence, BR, is how power slips away unnoticed. Ask the average person about their spending, BR, and they'll tell you a story. I'm pretty responsible. BR, I don't really splurge. I mostly spend on necessities. Then ask them why their account, BR, is always lower than expected. The story call. Apsis. BR 200 here, B 100 there. BR money that simply evaporates, or BR no villain, BR no crisis, BR just silence. Phase 1 exists to close that gap between story and reality. Here's the psychological mechanism that makes it work. When you track spending without judgment, but the brain stops defending, and starts noticing. You're no longer attacking yourself, you're observing. And consciousness always precedes change. BR, always. BR. This is why Machiavelli emphasized knowledge over moralizing. He understood that once you see the true layout of power, behavior adjusts naturally. You don't need force. The same thing happens here, You don't even have to cut anything yet. But something subtle shifts. You pause before impulse purchases. BR. You hesitate. BR. You start recognizing patterns, you've been blind to for years. By day 30, almost everyone uncovers something uncomfortable. Maybe it's $150 a month, in forgotten subscriptions. Maybe it's eating out 5 times a week, when you thought it was twice. Maybe it's the quiet, I deserve this purchases, that feel harmless in the moment, but add up to thousands every year. These aren't moral failures, BR. They're blind spots. And I've seen this play out, BR, at every income level. Executive earning over $200,000 a year, couldn't understand why he constantly felt broke. When he tracked his spending, he discovered nearly $3,000 a month, leaking into convenience, decisions he didn't even remember making. Another man earning far less uncovered $400 a month. He could redirect immediately, without changing his lifestyle at all. The difference between stress and control wasn't income, it was visibility. History tells the same story. John D. Rockefeller didn't begin as an oil titan. He began as a bookkeeper. Before he controlled industries, he controlled ledgers. He tracked every cent, not out of obsession, but out of respect for leverage. He understood that what gets measured gets commanded. Here's the insight most people miss. Awareness alone begins to change behavior. You don't need discipline yet. You don't need motivation. The act of tracking creates friction. It slows impulsive decisions. It exposes emotional spending. It makes money real again, instead of abstract. This is why Phase 1 works, even for people who claim they're bad with numbers. You're not analyzing, you're witnessing, and by the end of 30 days, something important happens. The shame fades, the fog lifts, money stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like information. That's the real win of Phase 1, not savings, not cuts, agency. You finally know where you stand, and once you know, you're no longer guessing. You're preparing. This is the moment just before power becomes available. But awareness alone doesn't change outcomes, it only opens the door. What comes next is where most people get emotional, because now you have to decide who you're becoming. Before we move forward, take a moment and comment aware. If you've ever felt money disappearing without explanation, lock this idea in: awareness first, control second. Phase 2, restructure, days 31 to 60. By the time you reach day 31, something fundamental has already changed. Money is no longer vague. It's no longer emotional fog. You can see it. Now comes the phase where most people get uncomfortable, because Phase 2 forces a choice. Days 30 to 1 through 60 are the restructure phase. This is where awareness turns into deliberate action, not restriction. Choice. That distinction matters more than most people realize. Machiavelli understood that people resist loss more than they desire gain. That's why he wrote that men more readily forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Cutting spending feels like loss, even when it's rational. So this phase is designed to bypass that resistance by anchoring decisions to identity and values, not deprivation. We start with what I call the priority stack, and the order is non-negotiable. First come your non-negotiables: rent, food, utilities, transportation, survival. These are sacred. We don't negotiate with reality. Any system that ignores this collapses under stress. Second comes the layer most people skip: values. Not society's values, not your parents', yours. This is where money stops being math and becomes strategy. If you value security, your surplus goes towards stability. If you value growth, it goes toward skills or assets. If you value freedom, it goes toward optionality. When money aligns with values, you don't feel restricted, you feel coherent. This is where high performers separate themselves. Warren Buffett didn't live in the same house for decades because he couldn't afford more. He did it because excess lifestyle diluted focus. His money obeyed his values, and that alignment compounded into dominance. The same principle applies whether you make $50,000 or $500,000. Only after non-negotiables and values are clear do we cut. Anything that serves neither survival nor values gets reduced or eliminated. Unused subscriptions, habits that drain energy, convenience expenses that buy momentary relief, and long-term stress. This is where things get emotional, because cuts aren't really about money. They're about identity. I'm someone who eats out. I'm someone who has that service. I'm someone who lives this way. Phase 2 quietly challenges those labels. You're not losing comfort. You're shedding versions of yourself, built without intention. Machiavelli would call this necessary cruelty toward the old identity in service of the new one. I've seen this phase break people who weren't ready to be honest. One man refused to cut a $400 car payment because it made him feel successful. 6 months later, he was still trapped. Another man sold the car, drove something modest, and built a 6-month emergency fund. Same income, different identity. Power follows identity. By day 60, the numbers start speaking. Maybe it's $200 a month, maybe $800. The amount doesn't matter, direction does. Money is finally flowing somewhere. You chose, not reacting, not leaking, moving with intent. This is also the phase where emotional clarity appears. Anxiety drops, guilt fades. You're no longer guessing whether you're doing enough. You can see progress. And that progress creates something rare, calm confidence. Historically, this is how power transitions occur. Before any empire expanded, it consolidated. Rome didn't conquer through chaos. It reorganized supply lines, taxation priorities. Phase 2 is consolidation. Without it, expansion fails. And this brings us to a dangerous moment. Because once surplus appears, most people relax. They reward themselves too early. They drift. They stall. Phase 3 exists to prevent that. Before we move on, pause and reflect. Comment choice. If you believe money should reflect values, not habits, that single word reinforces the shift you're making. Phase 3, acceleration, days 61 to 90 and regaining agency. By the time you reach day 61, you're standing at a fork in the road. For the first time, you have surplus, real surplus, not theoretical money, not maybe next month. Money. This is where outcomes split permanently. Most people feel relief and immediately spend it. This system does not allow that, because Machiavelli's central warning applies perfectly here. Power gained without discipline is power briefly held. Acceleration only works if surplus is deployed with intent. Phase 3 runs from days 61 through 90. This is where the system compounds. Through 3 precise destinations for your money. Miss the order and the structure weakens. Follow it and leverage appears faster than most people expect. Destination 1, safety net. You build 1 month of expenses, then 2, then 3. This is not investing, it's insurance. And the psychological effect cannot be overstated. The moment you're no longer one emergency away from panic, your decision-making changes. Desperation evaporates, and desperation, as Machiavelli understood, forces men into bad bargains. Necessity, he wrote, is the mistress of all men. Those without a buffer are ruled by it. I've seen this repeatedly. One contractor I worked with didn't change his income at all during these 90 days, but once he had 3 months of expenses saved, he stopped accepting low-quality clients. Within weeks, his average project size increased by 40%. Nothing external changed, his posture did. Safety creates leverage. Destination 2, income strain. This is where surplus begins to work for you. Instead of sitting still, that might mean educati. On. That leads to a raise, a small business that creates optional income or traditional investments. Once the foundation is solid, the rule is simple. This money must have a return path. It must move you closer to independence, not comfort. This is how elites think. Money is a tool, not a trophy. Look at modern examples. When Elon Musk sold PayPal, he didn't diversify into comfort. He redeployed nearly all of ITR, NTO companies that compounded control, BR, Tesla and SpaceX BR. GH risk? Yes. B, T deliberate, BR. Okay, further back, BR. Medici family didn't hoard gold. T, EY reinvested into banking systems bar. Add multiplied influence across Europe. Acceleration always follows deployment. Destination 3, reward bar, is surprises people. B, T, it's non-negotiable, N% of your surplus bar. G, ES towards something purely joyful, BR, meal, BRA, hobby, BRA, small luxury. T as a relapse, BRA, reinforcement, BR, is reminds your brain that money isn't the enemy of happiness, it's the servant of it. Without this bar P. Opal rebel, bar T, I self-sabotage, RTBRT burnout. Machiavelli understood morale BRA, a strategic asset bar N, T a weakness bar BR, day 90 BRT, E transformation is visible. You have security bar Y, you have momentum BR. D you have BRA, completely different relationship with money bar, T fear, N, T avoidance bar, authority bar. T me ground this in reality. Ristina, a freelancer, BRD. Discovered she was wasting bar. $190 a month unused apps. Redirected that to a 3-month Imogen bar. Psi fund. By day 90, That safety gave her the confidence to raise her rates. Her income jumped 30%. Connor was buried under $9,000 of consumer debt. He made brutal cuts. No dining out, no extras. By day 90, he'd erased over $6,000. The money was always there. The system simply revealed it. Alicia earned 6 figures, but lived paycheck to paycheck. Lifestyle creep devoured everything. Phase 2 forced her to confront what she actually valued. Not status, but security and growth. By day 90, she had a 3-month buffer and invested in a certification, projected to add $15,000 a year to her income. Different people, same outcome, agency restored. Not everyone finishes. Most failures happen early. Phase 1 feels tedious, so people quit. The fix, automation, 5 minutes a day. Phase 2 feels emotional, so people avoid cuts. The fix, values, read them daily. Phase 3 creates uncertainty, so people freeze. The fix, small action. $50 invested beats 0 perfectly planned. Here's the truth, most people never confront. You're not broke because you lack intelligence, talent, or effort. You're broke because you're living inside systems you didn't design, didn't question, and quietly obey every day. Machiavelli's entire philosophy was built on one ruthless observation. Men are not destroyed by enemies, they are destroyed by the structures. They accept without resistance. Money is not emo. Chanel. It's mechanical. It flows exactly where the system tells it to flow. If your system rewards consumption, you remain trapped. If it rewards leverage, you gain power. There is no morality in this, no fairness, only cause and effect. And once you see that, you lose the right to pretend nothing can change. 90 days from now, your life won't be different because you hoped harder. It will be different only if you replace the system that is currently draining you. Same income, same world, different structure. That's how real power is built. Quietly, methodically, without permission. This is the hidden law. Most people never learn. Freedom doesn't come from making more money first. It comes from controlling how money behaves before it ever reaches your hands. When you internalize that, you stop chasing, you start commanding. So here's the final lock-in. Comment the hidden law. If you understand that money follows systems, not motivation, and that once you control the system, you control the outcome.